Hey, Nerf Herders, I'm Addy Thomas.
And I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Certain Point of View News and Reviews. It's one of our last few as we start heading into a Star Wars-only era for certain POV. But today, we're still giving you some news around.
Would that be like
Nerfverse.
our next step into a smaller universe?
No, we're gonna. It's a larger universe. We're not changing that.
Just Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot of news covering some of the some TV show renewals that are relevant to us. We got
this one I can't believe.
Yeah, well, we got a couple other ones here and there. We'll probably get to some of those as we talk about some of the shows that we're reviewing.
Yep.
But some other big news, including for Star Wars as well, and
Hooray.
some other projects that are on the way. So we'll talk about those along with our roundup of TV shows. But before we get there, don't forget, you can go to our website. You can rate, review, and subscribe to all of our podcasts on our website, certainpov.com. You can check out all the variety of shows that we have available there. It's on our website, certainpov.com. Let's get to the news. So the Hollywood Reporter reported that in a new long-term deal, the network has handed out a 70-episode order of Rick and Morty with creators Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon.
That's a lot of episodes, and they went all in on it.
Well, it's more than double the 31 episodes that have aired to date across 3 seasons, and it pushes it past the 100-episode number, which allows for syndication deals.
Nice.
And should they stick to the current episode count per season, it would actually take the show through to a 10th season, airing sometime well into the late 2020s. But no time frame has been announced as far as when we can expect new episodes.
All right, there's a couple things that I think about this. Do we think that the network has finally started to get its head out of its own ass and is starting to make good decisions?
I think they've lost enough deals here and there and canceled enough things that were successful early enough, and they recognize just I think Szechuan sauce
alone.
Yeah, I think once they saw that was like, you know what, we need to keep this guy.
We got something here.
Yeah.
We got something that's culturally hitting a nerve.
Yeah.
Second question is, are we going to start laying bets as to whether or not Dan Harmon can keep his shit together that long?
That was my thought about it, because I know he's all over the place. He can be difficult to work with,
and that's on a good day.
So
that guy's impossible to work with. Everybody who has worked with him has said to a T, he's brilliant, but he's impossible.
I was trying to go the nicer route, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, and that is the nice. You
Yeah.
have guys like Chevy Chase, who's like, I'll never work with that guy again.
Right.
That's the two extremes. Is he's brilliant and impossible to work with. I hate that guy. I never want to see him again. Those are your two extremes of people's interactions with Dan Harmon.
Yeah, it's funny because that was my first thought. Will Dan Harmon be able to finish out this series?
It's funny. That was my first thought, too.
Yeah.
We are batty.
We are one. Well, sticking with Adult Swim is bringing back one of the series that helped the network make a name for itself, and they're doing it this fall. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
You are so excited.
I really
am. The smile
am.
on your face right now, I wish people could see it. It is huge.
Harvey Birdman is one of my all-time favorites.
When I saw this
show.
news, I was like, I've seen a couple episodes. I never really watched the show, but I was like, I know Addy is super jacked about this.
This and Space Ghost,
Yeah.
Coast to Coast,
Yeah.
would be amazing if somehow they brought back that. Or a spinoff with Brack, because they did a spinoff with Brack, I think.
Yeah, they had the Brack
Yeah,
show.
they did,
It
yeah.
was not very good.
I know, but I still have a special place for it in my heart. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny.
I mean, that absurd comedy is. There's so little of it.
You really the Brack thing really works so well when you have him juxtaposed with a Zorak and a Space Ghost.
That's true.
You need
That's
to
true.
have that
That whole
trinity.
cast,
Yeah,
yeah.
that whole cast works great together. Each one of them by themselves kind of doesn't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. So, well, Adult Swim has the mashup of the classic cartoons. Well, it's going to return for a half-hour special later this year, and it's going to be titled Harvey Birdman, Attorney General. So Adult Swim dropped an early plot and casting details as part of the in-character press release. The gist of it is that President Phil Sabin, who's again voiced by Stephen Colbert, has appointed Harvey Birdman as the country's new Attorney General, but Harvey isn't going to use the position to serve President Sabin. Instead, he's using the power of the judicial system to get him out of office, hopefully. So along with Colbert, much of the original voice cast will reprise their roles, including Gary Cole as Harvey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we're taking a page out of Hollywood's hope that somehow they can figure out a way to get rid of Trump.
Right.
Is what this really feels like. And
It is.
I get
I mean,
that.
to be fair, the character is actually a supervillain. That's Colbert's character. So, like,
it fits-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see it wasn't hard to pitch anybody on bringing this one back.
Yeah, I don't see that anybody was like, oh, Josh, I don't know. That's kind of controversial here in Hollywood. I'm for it. I think it's going to be funny. I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Well, Kevin Feige tends to be very vague when it comes to introducing new characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and sometimes just straight up tight-lipped. However, he recently stated in a BBC interview that now that Captain Marvel is on the way, they're actually opening the door for the Pakistani Miss Marvel, which is definitely in the works. That is...
Khan!
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to get Kamala Khan. Like, he said
jacked.
definitely in the works, that's a big deal for, like, Kevin Feige.
That is. The question is, where are we getting her? Are we getting her in the MCU, or are we getting her on TV?
Well, if it's Kevin Feige, it's movies.
He doesn't have anything to do with the TV properties anymore?
Not really. I mean,
that's disappointing.
I
actually I think she'd fit better on TV.
You know what? I'm all for her to show up in movies as they're open.
Her and Biggin move and stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
What'll be interesting to see with how they handle this is with the abomination that the Inhumans was.
Yeah, that's the big question that I have about this. And there's some spoilery stuff going on with renewals and stuff like that we'll have to talk about. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Going on.
Well, we obviously know Inhumans did not get renewed.
Inhumans did not get renewed, which...
That was pretty much canceled day one.
That was maybe the worst thing Marvel's put out.
Yeah, well,
since
the Marvel Cinematic. Yeah,
since
the
Incredible
MCU.
Hulk.
Yeah,
since
I won't
that
go
is
as
the
far as
worst
Incredible
thing.
Hulk. You think it's worse than? You think it's better than Incredible Hulk?
No, it's the worst thing since Incredible Hulk came out, starting the MCU universe.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. yeah. When you said since, it sounds like you're saying it's better.
No. I'm sorry. Since the Incredible Hulk came out and started the MCU universe, it's all connected.
Well, yeah.
You know, that idea. It is the worst thing that Marvel's put out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's god awful.
Yeah, it's no Elektra, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
I like Elektra better than that than I liked Inhumans.
All right.
I just
I'll
did.
give you that.
I did.
Yeah. Well, so despite losing out on their initial bid to Disney, Comcast is now once again looking to acquire 21st Century Fox, in a move which could put a swift end to those dreams of seeing the X-Men and Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. According to a new report from CNBC, the company is considering making an all-cash offer for the company, which could totally upend Disney's current deal.
God damn it. Why would you do this to me? No. You can have everything but the Marvel properties. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's still a dark horse. They're still out there lurking.
I need the Marvel Universe to just be whole again. Like, I just feel, well, here's the thing.
Will it ever truly be whole with Universal the way it is?
Universal still having Namor.
Well, Universal is Comcast, so...
Oh, God, and they're the worst.
Yeah, they got Namor, and they won't let a solo Hulk movie happen.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do this. I hope that somehow the cash isn't enough or whatever. They're able to just look at that and go, yeah, it's not going to work, and we can just get rid of them out of the picture. I don't need it. Here's my fear. Here's my honest to God fear, though, about uniting it all. Like, there's a certain safety net that occurs with having it broken up. Because right now, yes, Kevin Feige's running this show almost perfectly. Like he has got it down to a well-oiled machine. The MCU is amazing. What happens when Feige steps down?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's way, so far in the future, because they got a good thing going, and like I imagine Bob Iger is doing everything he can to make sure.
Just every day, giving that guy just bags of money and whatever else he wants.
Right.
Here you go, sir. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I mean, because it seems like he's finally in a spot where he does have all the creative freedom he wants too.
Yeah.
So
and things have worked much smoother since he's gotten that power too.
Yeah.
It seems like. But what happens when he, so that's my fear. So like, okay, yes, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four all come back underneath Marvel's umbrella. And then what happens if we get like, I don't know, maybe Zack Snyder or somebody like in that level of capability of handling the universe, and the Marvel universe comes along behind Feige. And now you don't have a place for the X-Men to be great. You don't have a place for the Fantastic Four to flounder.
I think, though, that is almost like I honestly have
defeatist.
to believe.
It's defeatist.
It's defeatist. But I also think it's much further in the future. I don't.
How old is Feige? Feige's like in his 40s.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think he'll do this for another 30 years.
So he already says he has plans well into 2025.
He can write those plans down. That doesn't mean he's going to do them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess that's just me, like, bringing my own bias.
Take that negative attitude. Get the hell out of here and come back in when you've learned what you.
I was just me like I can't imagine having a job for that.
You know what? I'm just moving on.
All right.
I'm just moving on.
All right.
Yeah, I can't take your.
I'm sorry.
Your negative attitude right now.
I'll try to be better going forward. Give me a nice softball upbeat story.
Oh, this is a fun one. This is an easy one.
Here we go.
Fox has announced it has given the green light to a 5th, but a final season of Gotham.
That is great news.
Yeah, it's finally going to be over. The nightmare is finally over. So Fox said in a statement, the 5th and final season will wrap up this unique origin story of the great DC Comics supervillains and vigilantes, which revealed an entirely new chapter that has never been told. It's expected the season will also be a shorter run of 13 episodes, taking the show's count up to 101 episodes. Enough for syndication.
Perfect.
And the final season will see Bruce Wayne's transformation into the Caped Crusader.
That's perfect. You know what? I have to give them props for
committing to what they like.
Yeah,
it's not what I liked, but
it's not for me, and that's totally okay.
Right.
I total props for them for really like going out on a limb and telling a different Batman story.
Yeah, it may have been batshit crazy, but
there were parts of it that really worked.
Yeah.
I thought.
I kind of I wouldn't be surprised though if I find myself saying like after this show is done, like
I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll go back and just go through it.
Yeah,
casually.
it wasn't must see TV, but it kind of feels like it feels like a show that I would go back and binge, just go through one weekend and watch and go, oh yeah.
Well, I don't know about one weekend. That seems like
just to get it out of the.
It's a good background show for me to just throw
on the weekend.
Yeah.
While I'm doing laundry.
Right.
Playing with kids.
Very specifically while doing laundry.
It's a big laundry weekend coming up.
Well, Peter Jackson and his New Zealand production crew are currently mulling over whether or not to sign on to Amazon's hugely budgeted Lord of the Rings TV series. But the rumor is Jackson is also considering directing a DC Comics adaptation.
Like, listen, look at you. Like, how do you feel? You feel good about that?
I mean, sure. Are there other projects that I think Peter Jackson would be good for?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know what? I'm fine with some of the voices they have in the MCU. I don't like. Let me ask you this. So in the MCU, this is not where I was planning to go with this conversation.
Okay.
But if he got a chance to do something in the MCU, what would you want him to do?
That's a good question. I never put any thought of like what properties, what IPs would I like him to do? What is he good at?
So it's weird because what I want him to do is not what I want him like. I'm so conflicted with this because I am not a knock to Peter Jackson and to what he's contributed to the Lord of the Rings mythology because it's very popular. I've seen a lot of people really put a lot of hate on him for the Hobbit movies. One, I don't put a whole lot of responsibility on the Hobbit movies for him. I do put a lot of he did want only the 2 movies. Del Toro leaving put him in the wind. Warner Brothers wanted the 3 once they got rid of once Del Toro left the project. There's behind the scenes documentaries that show like how stressed out that guy is while doing the Hobbit movies. Like there's a scene where it shows him while he's doing the last one, the Battle of the Five Armies, and he's just like, I just don't know what the hell I'm doing right now. Like he has the set clear, and he's just like, I don't like. He goes and just has to rewrite stuff to try to figure it out while he's on set. Like that's how ridiculous that production was.
And it shows.
Yeah, there shows. And are there certain tendencies in Jackson that I'm not crazy about? Sure, I think his best work is still Fellowship of the Ring, and as time went on and he had more control.
How did you feel about his King Kong?
I thought it was all right for a one-time watch. It's not a movie that I would go back and watch again.
Yeah.
But I like this. He does spectacle.
Well, I feel
I love his spectacle. And
okay.
And here's the thing. I did really like District 9. So I like there are multiple projects I think he's good at. Here's the thing that I realized. So Jonathan Nolan, who is the screenwriter and the showrunner for Westworld.
Yeah.
He's also responsible for one of the movies I absolutely detest, and that's Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
And it isn't for the lack of high concept ideas. Sure, I don't like the way he wrapped up that story.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the ideas and the themes and the things he tried to jam into those movies work better as a TV show.
Right.
And he's done it like
that's
like,
clearly his forte. Yeah.
His strength, like
He's
Person
right
of
there, yeah.
Interest. Like unlike Dark Knight Rises, I love Person of Interest and I love Westworld.
Yeah.
So I would love to see Peter Jackson do TV, to be perfectly honest.
So you're okay with him doing the Lord of the Rings Amazon TV show?
No, because I want to. I know this is. I'm
Where are you going?
I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want anymore. Because the thing is, I do want to see someone else's take.
Yes.
I think I've seen the best of what he can do. Because even despite the bad story in The Hobbit, like I still saw some pretty cool like the visuals were still pretty amazing in The Hobbit.
Right.
I'm not going to take that away from him by any means. So I do want him to stay sort of with a ring-centric theme.
How about this?
I want him on Green Lantern. Is the thing.
Interesting.
Because I like the idea of him doing a big ensemble.
Yeah.
I like there's a lot of big high drama, high concept stuff that you can go into with Lantern. I feel it needs to start off buddy cop, but it should evolve into the big, the Lantern Wars.
Open the war up, yeah.
Right, open it up with the
universe.
Sinestro, open it up with like all the Lantern Corps, Blackest Night, like all elements that I think, especially like the horror elements of Blackest Night. He's the guy I'd want to do that event if they were ever to do a Blackest Night Justice League movie.
If they're going to do Blackest Night, I would want Del Toro.
Really?
Yes.
I guess so,
Del
but
Toro's visuals are so out there and so frightening.
He would only be on board for one of those movies. So if you wanted to trust a guy to stick with a project, it's Peter Jackson.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I agree. I think that would be a great choice. I'll be honest. I think another great choice for him would be Superman.
Really?
And
I never thought about that.
Like you said, just big spectacle movies that are fun. Like his King Kong movie is fun.
Yeah.
And it's a huge spectacle. And he directs the action really well.
Yeah.
He doesn't get in the way of his actors. And I think like that he has a lighter touch. He has a lighter feel, which Superman needs.
Huh. I never thought about that actually. I guess I could see that. I guess I'm excited.
I don't want a Superman movie, so I'm not real excited about that.
Yeah.
But I think he could do a great Superman movie. I think he's better suited. I think your suggestion is better, to be honest with you, to start the Green Lantern Corps off.
Because he can handle a big, complicated mythos. Like you think about his intro sequence for Fellowship and how clearly it laid out a pretty complicated mythos. And I look back at that first only Green Lantern movie, and how they tried to do a similar thing, but they didn't accomplish
execute it well.
So I think he can handle that kind of stuff. I think he understands. I think he'd handle a Green Lantern series in a really interesting way. That's my hope.
Well, you're not going to get a Green Lantern
No,
series.
I'm not. That's not happening, So outside of that, I guess Superman, Justice League Dark.
I'm sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's the guy to pick up Justice League Dark
because he's continuously coming behind Del Toro's projects.
He's sweeping up after Del Toro
constantly. That's his job.
Well, this would be the second time, so I don't know if it's constantly yet.
I'm sure there's a bunch we haven't heard about.
If we hear that he's on Pacific Rim 3, then yes,
we know for sure.
So speaking to Nerdist Stan Casey at last week's Solo: A Star Wars Story premiere, Jon Favreau teased what fans could expect from his own Star Wars project. It's going to be a TV show that's set roughly 7 years after the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi. So Favreau also mentioned that the series would use the same sort of CG work the director had previously used in the Jungle Book reboot, and it'll focus on a new cast of characters. 7 years after Return of the Jedi would place Favreau show roughly 11 years after the Battle of Yavin, which is sort of, the time, that's the birth of, essentially like BC, like ABY, ABY is the Star Wars universe.
That's where everything changes.
The OG Death Star is where everything starts and begins there. So in sort of the general idea of like that period of the galaxy, so this is already... The New Republic has already been founded. They've already signed the Accords to bring peace to the galaxy. The First Order is in its very earliest stages, out in very small form. At this point, Mon Mothma's even handed over like executive powers, the same sort of powers that Chancellor Palpatine took. And so we actually have sort of like, and also they've like scaled back the fleet, the Rebel fleet. So at this point, we're at relative peace for a Star Wars story. So it'll be an interesting... I'm interested to see what that means for what this story is like. Do you think this could be sort of like the Star Wars 1313 / Scum and Villainy TV show that was kind of rumored for a while?
I hope so. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think that's certainly a possibility. I think that we can go into like the start of the First Order and the skirmishes on the Outer Rim and
like,
seeing.
I think at the point that this is set, it's too early for that.
But it's starting there, and then.
Well, so we
don't know how long Snoke was out there. We don't know how long
that's
that
true.
Happened.
But so
it's
just
7 years. It's only 7. It's 7 years. That's a significant amount of time.
Well, so just to kind of put it in context, so this is 11 ABY. So the Leia's Resistance is formed in 28 ABY. Just to kind of give you context.
So 27 years later. 17 years later.
Yeah,
17 years later. It's a little early, but you know what? Maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not. I mean, we might see that. We might find out what happened to Ezra.
Find out in live action. I don't know how I feel about that.
Ahsoka. We might see some Ahsoka in there. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm excited to hear. Like, I loved his Jungle Book.
Yes, it was
like
really
it was
good,
visually just stunning. So if that's the technology that they're using for a TV show, I'm all in. And honestly, I don't really care what it is. To be perfectly honest,
I just
want
to see fun stuff.
It could be the Christmas special week after week. And I'd be like, all right, I'm in. Let's see what we got here.
Slow your roll. We should still have standards.
I can't make up my mind with you. Like, either I'm too negative or I'm too positive. Like, come on, man. Help me out.
Well, let's jump over to TV. So I'll go over the two shows that you don't watch really quickly. So Supergirl, remember I mentioned the evil Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah.
They killed off 2 of them already, so we're back to the original one.
Okay.
One killed the other, so one sort of in a redemptive moment, took out the other. But now the other one is left with the powers of all 3, so she's super powerful. Has already kicked Supergirl's ass before.
Right.
So,
only the power of love can stop her.
Apparently. So then we have Arrow. So Diaz, who's the big bad for this season, he takes over this giant crime organization that's in the shadows, which I have a feeling this organization is probably going to be the next big bad for the following season. And we had Team Arrow sort of reunite a little bit. We're in the home stretch right now for this season. So, yeah.
There you go. You're pretty excited about it.
Yeah. What? All right, so then we've got The Flash.
Council of Wells.
That was the only thing that saved that episode for me.
You know what? And that didn't even save that episode for me. It was funny the first time. Yeah. The second time, I was like, meh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Jenny was like...
I like the new Wells that they introduced to us.
The Frenchie one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even remember what else was going on in that episode, to be honest.
Iris was debating on whether or not she was going to write a blog post.
Oh, right, to publicize what they're doing. Yeah, that really tells you how far they're stretching right now.
There's like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to have a debate between Flash and Iris of whether or not they're going to release a blog post.
Well, You know what? So the end of that episode does result in the city deciding to they've got the city on their side.
Yeah, it did the Dark Knight Rises that you hoped it would be. How do you feel about its
I
execution?
thought exactly that. I was like, oh, that is too rough for me to like. Like to me, it really feels like, wow, this citizenry is extra
positive and in tune with it, and just
or they're really naive.
yeah,
like,
they're super naive. I mean, like,
one blog post is enough to be I was a little
Oh, Iris wrote it, I guess. So
like
close enough.
Why do you have that much reason to trust Iris? How small is this town for them to know her? You know.
Yeah, and who's reading her blog posts, and she hasn't been blogging in 3 years?
Yeah. So I was not crazy
strange.
about that.
Strange.
I mean, I know she was the one who was blogging about the Flash. You know,
originally
early
in season 1, but we're on season 5 or 6 now.
Yeah, it's been a good amount of time. So. Yeah, I was not crazy about that. Let's move on to another show that was just renewed for a 6th season.
God damn it.
It's funny because we do like this show generally.
Yeah.
But this season
has been painful. This season has been ripping off the Band-Aid real slow.
Yeah, it's funny watching
Here's
this
the best
episode.
news. Here's the best news though about the renewal.
Okay.
It's only 13 episodes.
Oh, that does help big time.
Hugely. Because this show has traditionally suffered from seasons that are too long.
Because man, if this season was 13 episodes, I would totally
It'd be such a fun season.
Yeah, like the things that they've been doing would be fine, but this Talbot stretch is just going on too long.
It is. They're
Yeah.
giving him just too much time to think and talk, and
we
were never nobody was ever that invested into Talbot.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's like it. I don't even feel like they gave who was the guy in season 1 that ended up being a bad guy? Ward. I don't even feel like they gave Ward that much time to justify and talk about his actions. And they did like a 2 or 3 season arc of his turn.
Right.
As much as they're giving Talbot. It's ridiculous. Like they're clearly just like stretching this out.
Yeah.
Like they've run out of ideas.
Oh, absolutely. So, all right, let's talk
here's my question about this though, right?
Sure.
Like, where does this go? Like they've wrapped all the storylines up.
Do you think there's a possibility they continue without Coulson?
No.
So that means Coulson lives?
Of course Coulson
Or do you
lives.
think this let's say he does do you think there's a chance that they could go back in time with this season?
Or do you think
No, but that would mean a new cast.
I think the Inhumans step in and help. Because they canceled that show, but they're talking about it's the MCU universe. I mean, but it's still kind of connected because they had the Thanos mention on the TV show. I feel
I don't care.
I don't know.
I don't care.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. You're right. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm trying way too hard to
care about this show at this
yeah.
point in time, and I'm just like, you know what? The Felinda thing. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Let's move on. So fortunately, we have 2 shows that are really good.
Yes.
And one of them is Legion.
Yes, one of them is Legion.
And we had a great episode this week. The only thing that was slightly disappointing for me in this episode was I was really excited about a little bit more forward momentum.
Uh-huh.
And this episode was a little bit it was a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
And it was a definite pause in the momentum of the story. But it was such good character work. It was such an interesting exploration of the multiverse. We got to see David grieve over his sister's death, which is kind of funny with how it's been a while. At least it's felt like it's been a while since we've seen her because it was.
I totally forgot
she was
the
a character.
Actress. Yeah, I was like,
right?
oh shit, that's
right.
his sister.
But it was such a cool episode to kind of see the way, the different possibilities for where David's character could have gone.
See, that's how you interpret it. I interpreted it differently.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Because I interpreted it as the last thing we see is him having his breakdown about his sister's death and Lenny holding him and just consoling him, wondering what's happened.
And then Amal Farouk comes up and says,
No. Well, no, he didn't say that in the previous. I'm talking about the previous episode, not this episode. Did he say it in the previous episode? No.
About creating your reality?
Yeah.
Now I don't remember.
I think that happened. That happened when they met at the stand. Is when when he had that conversation.
Oh, right, and they use that. Yeah.
And so you say you can create your own reality. So to me, like, this was David's powers manifesting themselves in a very powerful way of being able to, like, look and see, okay, how can I save my sister? This is him desperately trying to figure out, what do I need to do to save my sister? Do I need to save my sister? And so he's looking across the multiverse of what all the different possibilities are. And he sees one scene where it ultimately leaves him as sort of a crippled invalid, very, very much reminiscent looking and of his father, Professor X.
Yeah.
In a wheelchair and being taken care of by his sister. And then he has another possible future where he is like this super powerful sort of Magneto character, where he's just like dominating people's thoughts, and he's super wealthy and he has all this power, but he at the same time is then now dominating and abusive to his sister. And when he's the Professor X character, his sister sort of becomes like an invalid shut in with him just to take care of him.
Right.
And then he has the regular future, which is what he's, what's led him to today, and he has to choose which one of those is going to be reality.
Well, there is a couple other realities that we see.
No, they lead into, those are all pre-stories to those three realities.
No, definitely not, because there's the one where he gets shot and killed.
Oh yeah, when he gets cut in half by where he's the crazy person. He lets his mental stuff gets
well, there are a couple of
the one where he gets shot. He doesn't die. That's what puts him in the wheelchair. That's why he's crippled.
Oh, that is?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then there's the one where he's cut in half too.
There's the one where he's cut in half.
So that's the one where he's the hobo.
He just loses control and gives in to the madness of the voices.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's the one where he completely dominates them.
Yeah. I just thought it was. I didn't go so far as him being an active participant in this episode as much as maybe it was him seeing all the possibilities of his life and more seeing the impact that his sister has on who he is and that relationship, significance of that relationship.
But that didn't change. Like that, his sister's relationship with him would have, like, they didn't show his sisters having an impact on any one of those characters. It was his decisions along the way that changed.
Well, it felt like the absence of her in his life.
But she was in all of those.
Well, see, I was going with the theory that, like, him being a hobo was her not in his life.
Right. That one, yes, that's true. But she's in all of the other ones.
Yeah.
In varying degrees.
Yeah.
And it's how he reacts to it and how he handles it.
Sure.
And then what tripped me off, it was his decision, is the final line of the episode, which is Farouk saying, you have the power to determine what your reality is. This, you have the power to choose what your reality is. And then, so we're assuming, I guess, coming into the next episode, we'll find out which one of those choose your own adventure books he chooses, which I assume will be the main one that we're already in.
Right. But all three of those are not ones that he's in currently.
Yeah. Yeah, but I kind of in the same way. You remember, like, the story of how Professor X wiped the whole universe of his original X-Men team?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
this could go similarly, like, where he has the power to do that kind of a thing and change reality.
Well, you mean he wipes the minds?
Well, I guess he couldn't wipe the minds and bring his sister back, but I don't know how. I don't know. He's telepathic.
Because he doesn't change reality.
Not yet that we know
Xavier
of.
doesn't change.
Xavier doesn't, but David theoretically could.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting. I guess we'll find out in the next episode. It didn't. To me, it felt much more active, and it was a much more, like, debatable thing rather than just a retrospective of, like, oh gosh, I really miss my sister.
Yeah.
Like there was something. To me, it felt like that there was something little, like, going on between him and Farouk, and that they were really debating, like, okay, like, because I feel like Farouk is kind of being his guide of, like, here's how here's your powers, this is what you could do with it, and he's kind of like tempting him to become like Farouk, and
Right.
in the process opening him up to all these possibilities as well.
Right.
And I think because what other purpose does Farouk have to kill his sister, but to teach him a lesson of some sort, other than I can kill your sister? I mean, we've seen villains like that, but the Shadow King is a more complex villain than that.
True,
too.
but I think it was also him taking advantage of David trusting him and being willing to save him and help him.
But he hasn't been saved and helped yet.
He's found his body.
No, he hasn't.
That's what he did.
No, he found Lenny's body. He dug up Lenny's body.
Okay, now see, I'm totally lost.
Yeah, he
No,
still
didn't.
he doesn't have his body yet.
I thought wait. Okay, now you and I are on completely different places because he didn't find Lenny's body.
Yeah, because David asked, he's like, where?
No,
She asked David. She goes.
That's the sister's body.
It's like an amalgamation of the two. Because she goes, where did they
But
bury my body? And
so
he goes, in the desert.
But here's the thing. Okay,
And she's
so
like, I think he found my body.
yeah. See, I read that as he put Lenny's consciousness in his sister's body, which is why she had the different colored eyes.
She does have different colored eyes, but it's still Lenny's body too. Like, it's unclear exactly what that machine does.
Right, and
Because it clearly, her premonition of then being absorbed into the weird mustache girls that follow the
yeah,
thing.
the
like,
general.
the general around, whatever, I forget what they're called.
Yeah.
Like, that has something to do with it too. Like, was her
Right.
consciousness uploaded into them,
Right.
and now she's part of that
Yeah.
being? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that I probably need to rewatch these last couple episodes because I see what you're saying. I just picked up on different things, and that's what's amazing about this show. Is like it's so subtle.
Yeah.
Is that it could be a couple different things, and we could both be wrong.
Right. Exactly.
And there could be somebody else like, no, that's not it at all.
At
It's
all,
this,
right.
and you're like,
Oh.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Let's move on to Westworld, and new episode for Westworld, and we got a little bit more backstory, which
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying about this season. I am enjoying that they are a little bit more clear on the backstory.
Mhm.
And we had like a pretty big reveal pretty early in this episode about sort of the nature of what Delos was wanting to do with the memories
Yeah.
of their guests.
Yeah.
And basically give them a chance at sort of immortality, essentially.
Yeah.
So I thought that was sort of an interesting path to go on, and some of the challenges we got a little bit more. We got to flesh out the Man in Black a whole lot more,
Yeah.
which is for me is always fascinating. I think he's such a great character. Love seeing the way he kind of interacted with the Confederales and the Mexicans. And then we got the big reveal also that the girl who was at the Raj Park and who survived from there is actually his daughter. So
Yeah, I saw that coming the entire episode.
oh really?
Yeah, as soon as yeah.
When she was talking about when she was talking to the Hemsworth brother about
Yeah, and then when they mentioned, "Oh, you have a daughter," I was like, "Well, I know who that is."
Yeah. Well, they mentioned his daughter
before.
a number of times. I didn't make that connection, but
Yeah.
absolutely, it does make a whole lot more sense that I was like, oh wait, she's still alive,
Right.
You know, because I was a little surprised that she was still alive.
I was too, and I was kind of surprised with how that ended with the Indians.
Well, I'm assuming, and this is only now that I'm realizing it, is that that's part of Ford's game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not expect them
Yeah.
that to end that way.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah.
And then we also have the return of a favorite character from last season, Elsie.
Yes, we did finally.
Not expect to see her again.
Definitely, I know. Although I think she was in a trailer, actually.
Oh,
for
was
this
she in the
season.
trailer?
Yeah.
Really? I totally missed it because
Yeah.
I was just like, well, she's dead.
Yeah, which is what I assumed as well. So it was interesting to see Bernard interact that way, and also to see Bernard take a slightly darker path. They love playing with timelines on this show, man.
Man, it is so like as confusing as Legion is.
This felt clear, so clear in comparison to Legion.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Future, past.
Because at
now.
least you know that for the most part, these are all happening It's just all in different timelines. Whereas
Right.
Legion is
You're
just
not sure
like,
what's happening.
what's actually
is it
real.
actually happening?
Yeah, or
does this mean anything?
Yeah, is it in someone else's consciousness?
Yeah.
Is it in like some weird like creature's
Astral
consciousness?
realm?
Yeah.
Where the hell are we? yeah. Legion is really a step out there compared to this show. But this show has been great.
Yeah.
This show felt the most like last season of this season so far,
Yes.
where it was a little more twists, a couple more surprises,
Yeah.
and a little more adventurous.
Yeah. Well, now that they've gotten some time to build up and
Yeah.
set the pieces up again for us.
Yeah.
So,
I felt like they were just kind of like reestablishing a new world for us in the first 3 episodes. So this is good. This is really good. I really like where they're taking the Man in Black and his adventure, and I love that Robert just keeps like popping up in different characters to talk to him.
Oh, it's always fun when he shows up
It's
to talk.
so bizarre and so like it was so unsettling. Like
With
I
the
would
girl?
I was like, oh, you guys, no, not okay, not okay, man. So, great show. I'm totally in on this season. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where it goes. Do you have any theories about? I think Ford is already a AI. I think he's already been dubbed into the AI. That's what that second brain unit was for.
Wait, what?
So
You're talking about the one that Bernard?
yeah,
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes.
yeah. I think that one is for Ford.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that story would be connected at that point. But yeah, if he was being sent there by Ford to do something, that does make perfect sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, problem solved. All right.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Well, so here's the thing. So Shogun World is next week.
Yes. I'm so jacked.
I'm really excited.
Jenny's
about
already
that.
rolling her eyes.
Oh, really? Well, so my thought is I'm interested to see what the developments are in that world and
Yeah.
what the rules of Shogun World is. So like, the Raj, we got like an idea, it's a jungle expedition ultimately. What is the fantasy that people are going for in Shogun World, and how does that differentiate, like what's different about that fantasy versus Westworld and the Raj?
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the AI becoming independent there? So I'm really interested to see that aspect. I guess at this point there's not really a possibility, or at least there's a very low possibility that there are any of the hosts out in the real world at this point, just because
Doesn't seem like it.
especially since the Delos's, or Mr. Delos's version, it hasn't really worked.
Yeah.
Yet it doesn't feel like they've been at release, yet.
Yeah.
So, I'm interested to see how that all shapes up and where Ford starts to play a part in this, because I still am sticking with sort of my ideas of like, the immortality, was something I kind of latched on as an idea earlier in this season as a possibility for what the, not necessarily blackmail, but like that it was a chance for people to live on in these units type of thing.
Yeah.
Was something that I thought, just because Jonathan Nola and Lisa Joy like playing with big, higher concepts.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the nature of Ford's game is, and I assume it's sort of like this, instead of the benevolent creator that sometimes exists in people's mythos, a little bit more of the Old Testament God type of thing is kind of the picture I see.
Creating suffering to teach lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see what that means going forward, because I feel like that's sort of the bigger thing at play in this series. So,
Yeah, for sure. And how each one of the different groups reacts to that suffering and
Right.
creates their own suffering.
Right.
Or
And creates new decisions based on their programming, whether you're human or a host, for that matter.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
can
like
you tell the difference?
And I feel like that's kind of the ultimate point that this series kind of wants to make is there any difference? Like, the moment you have this ability to know that there is a difference between good and evil, that's when the ability to do wrong exists,
Yeah.
is sort of my thought with,
Yeah.
with all of this. So how is that going to affect each of these characters along the way? So that is it for today's episode. Be sure to check out all of our podcasts. We've got Fun and Games with Matt and Jeff. We've got Another Pass with our very own Case Aiken. We've got The Scruffy Nerf Herders, a Star Wars D20 story for all sorts of crazy fun shenanigans from in a Star Wars D20 universe. You can check out all of those podcasts on our website, certainpov.com. And until next time, stay scruffy, my Nerf Herders.